in Raleigh, North Carolina. This video is the one that will show you how to put back the front of the machine, time the sewing hook, and then I'm going to do a sewing demonstration. But when I ended the video about putting the belt back on the machine, I neglected to do a few things, so I'm going to catch up on that right now, because I wanted to do this as if you were doing it, and I forget to do a few things because I don't put the machines back together again completely, or my machine back together completely, because I'm using it to test belts, but you're going to be using it to sew with. So I didn't put on the inspection cover, and I didn't put on the oil delivery slide, and I didn't put on the belt guide down below. So I'm going to do those things just to give you a look at how it's done. Even though you are mechanically inclined, then you won't really have much of a problem. I parked some screws in their holes so they didn't get lost or misidentified, and I'm pulling this one out right now for the inspection cover on the back. Alright, so here we go. Alright, that was on the inside, this was on the outside. So let's get this inspection cover back in here where it is supposed to be. I've got it started, and here we go. Alright, so that takes care of the inspection cover. Now, let's move the machine a little bit toward me. Here we go. Like this. Alright, this is also an oil delivery part. And in this little cone, there is some material. Now, I'm going to show you again what goes in here by pulling it out, putting it in, and then putting it back in again. So here is, this cone has some cotton material of some kind that is in here, and when you put oil through here on the top, it delivers oil down into the machine. There's an obvious hole for it, and it just pulls in, pushes in, and comes back out. There it is right there. See, it comes out right, very easily. It's not threaded, and it goes right back in again. So when you deliver oil in here, it'll deliver it continuously down to where the stitch adjustment lever is running the system for moving the feed dog back and forth. So this is important to get oiled. Now, I have to move things around a little bit to do what I want to show you. So I'm going to take a pause right here and reset the shot. Okay, we are back. Now, what I'm going to do is take this guy out, this bushing, which I showed you how to put back in. I'm going to loosen the set screw on the side. Okay, and pull this guy out. Now the tension's going to come off the belt a little bit, but that's not a problem because it's going to go right back in. Now I showed you this slot with these 3 holes in it, okay, on the main shaft bushing. So I have got some cotton twine, which has no chemicals in it, it's just cotton twine. Here it is right here. Okay, slow down. And I'm going to cut a piece of it off, just to guess. And I'm going to oil it before I put it. Here's my oil can tip. Right there's the oil can. And I am going to run some oil on it. I'm just going to get it right on the table. Okay, and draw the oil through it just for speed or convenience. Okay, and just to start it out. So now I have an kind of an oil-soaked piece of cotton twine, and I'm going to lay it in here just to see how much will fit. Just about like that. Okay, I'm doing it down below where you can't see it, but I'll show it to you when I get it done. Alright, fairly good guess. There it is. Cotton twine. I don't know that you would want to use a cotton ball. Use something a little more substantial. Okay, this is wicking, meaning that you're going to be putting oil into the hole in front of this screw, which holds on the other oil delivery system. So here we go. Let's see if I'm going to be able to get this in here comfortably back into the machine with this cotton wick in here. Alright, so I packed it in. Okay, remember I told you put your thumb under here, lift up and get it started. And now you're going to want to click it in there, turn it, okay, push it back, and push it back into the machine, just like that. Now, caught on something, so I'm going to pack this in here. You want it full. There it is. It rode home. Okay. So now the notch on the collar and the line that I put on there with a magic marker is right on top. And we're going to run the set screw back in again. Okay. Now, I'm going to get something to wipe this oil off the table where I squished it out. Okay. All right, just throwing away a piece of paper towel there. Okay. Now, here comes the second screw that I'm going to take out here to put back in our oil delivery sliding pond. Here she is. And where's my flashlight? There's that hole again that it tips into. Flashlight's dying on me. Batteries are dying in this one. But the hole is right here. Okay. So slip this over. Okay, the collar. Make sure that's in there and centered. This is a spring clamp, as you see. So find the hole. Squeeze the parts together. Okay. Run the screw back into the hole. Give me a hard time because the head is very big and the screw shaft is very narrow. Okay, so now there it is. I'm squeezing the parts together. Okay, this is right where it needs to be. Center it up as best as possible. We tip a light down in there. Maybe you can see it better. There you go. It is not easy to see because everything is black. But I got my, there it is. I got my finger right on it, and there it is, pointing into the machine. So let's widen out just a little bit. There we go. And now we have this back on. We have this back on over here. Here comes the hand wheel. Okay. Back onto its spot. Push the light out a bit. Okay. And we get these set screws back where they're supposed to be. In their grooves. Here we go. Just like that. Blocking the camera, I know. Alright. Now they're back on. Machine is turning nice and easy. Here comes the back screw. Okay. And we have this machine properly reassembled on the upper rear end. Okay. Alright, there we go. Okay, alright. Let's test her one time, make sure she's rolling okay. Turn on the motor. Okay, here comes the drive belt up here. Tip the machine back a bit. Get the drive belt back on there. And she's running. There she goes. And that nice whirring sound you're hearing without any real clicking is the mark of a well-worn-in machine that is working perfectly. There she goes. So I'm going to turn off the motor. And I'm going to turn it around and tip the machine back on its hinges so I can reinstall the belt guide. And I'll show you a couple of things about this belt guide when I get the shot reset. So let's go back into pause and I'll be right back. Okay, we have the shot reset, and now you can see the bottom sprocket where we reinstall the belt, or I reinstall the belt. And this screw here and this screw here are parked in the holes that they belong in. And here is the lower belt guide. Now, I ground this one out for clearance because of the green belt material that I was using needed a little more space around it. But this material here, this FSB brown nitrile, is about the same thickness, not width, but thickness, as the original belts, leather belts that were on the machine. So you're not going to have to grind yours out like this one was ground out by me. Also, you will notice this lower belt guide has a turn on here and a flat on here. Not much of a turn, small amount of turn, but more over here. So it's going to go on the machine like this. You will notice that this foot that the machine can stand on a table and this one here are also offset because of the gearing systems in here. So take both screws out and remember that the short guy, let me get this out by hand and I'll finish that sentence in a minute. Okay, that's the long screw. This is the longer of two screws. Okay, I'll get them both in my hand in a minute and then you'll be able to compare them. Let me get out the short guy on the bottom. Okay. Alright. Short guy goes on the bottom and the long guy goes on top. And there they are right there. This guy is longer than the other one. There we go. Now you can see them. Okay. So, long guy goes on top. Here is this, and this can only go on one way. And it rides right between the two sets of sprockets. So, let's get her in there. Oh, my mistake. I had it backwards. It can go in, it can only go in one way, and I was holding it backwards. So this is how it goes in. Okay. like that, with this larger turn right here and the flatter one up on top. So now we have it positioned correctly. Sorry about that. Alright, so let's get this upper screw started. Just running out of my fingers. There we go. I have the upper one started. Okay. And let's get the lower one started too. If my head's in the way, no it's not. It's an awkward position. I would rather be sitting in the front of the machine than on the back end. It's taking me a little longer to get it started. There we go. Alright, so I have both screws started, but they're not seated yet. So hold this in position up against the supports on the machine and get this one on the top, run in, and then we get the other one run in like that. Make sure these screws are nice and snug in here. Okay. Now, while we're here, let's double check and make sure that these set screws on the back end of the sprocket here on the collar, on the sprocket collar, are also nice and tight. And they are. Let's get this one up. This one, we'll check this one too. And it is nice and snug. Alright. So now the machine is properly on the back end put back together. And this belt guide holds on to that, doesn't touch. The belt is running through there, okay, with just enough clearance that it doesn't touch, and the belt is not moving off the sprocket. It's running its guide perfectly. So that's how this is supposed to look. This is the flat, this is the turn, both screws are in here. When you take this off to do your installation, park those screws back in the hole you took them out of, so then they won't get lost and you'll know where they go. Alright, now we're going to go into retiming the front end of the machine, retiming the sewing hook, and putting the feed dog back in, putting a needle back in. Show you how to put a bobbin into the bobbin case so it's going in the correct direction when the thread is playing out, and all of those things. So we're going back into pause, and I'm going to reset the shot. Okay, we're back in record. Now I have reset this shot to show you I'm looking straight on at the hook right here, and right up in here, I point with the screwdriver, is the screw hole for the hook positioner part, which is in my hand right here. Now remember I showed you in the earlier video this tab piece on this finger that is going to insert into the notch on the hook. And if I can bring it around this way, here I'll show it to you. There it is, right there. Okay. Alright. I can only show it to you from the side, and I have it in there right now. There it is. But you can see that this is not moving without my moving the shaft, which I can't do that way, but I can do this way. So there's the hook moving around, just like that. But this positioning part can move freely now inside the sewing hook. So what I want you to do is take it and put it right as much as you can see from this angle, right on up to the top, like the 12 o'clock position in a clock. And with this facing, just like this, get it up in here into the slot, okay, and get it up into its spot and move it on up through here, just like that. And you're going to find that this is very tight and only goes in one way. And it's fighting me right now, but that's normal. Okay. So work it in there. And here's the screw for it right there. But right now I am fighting with this part to get it right up into where it needs to go. This may take a while. I cannot completely see it from this angle. Let me see if I'm closer than I think I am by trying to get the screw in there. There we go. Let's see what we've got here. Let's see if it's going to engage or not. No, it's still, oh, wait a minute, there it goes. I can feel it going in. There it is. Okay, I got the tab is in the spot where it's supposed to be. The screw is in there, and I also put a little oil on it too. And I remember cleaning it out very, very good when I took it apart quite some time ago. So now the hook positioning hook positioner is in there, and I can see the shot turn, so I must have hit the camera when I was working on it, didn't notice it. So here is the screw in the position, holding the hook positioner in, and now that I have it in, I can take the camera over here and show you a little bit more of an angle in. When you go to take your machine apart, look at it before you take this out, and then you'll see how it goes back in. A mechanically inclined individual will already know that. So, now that you turn the hook around it, it stays put. Doesn't move. And that's why they call it the hook positioner. Let me see if I can get a tighter shot on in here by changing my angle a little bit and zooming in and hopefully not losing any focus from where I am. Alright. Hard to see. Let me draw the light over here a little bit. And that's probably blocking the shot. There it is. Right on the edge of the shade. Right there. There is the hook positioner. Right in the slot. Right there. Okay, we're going to reset the shot again, and we're going to show you how to retime this sewing machine hook. Okay, we are back in record, and now we have a nice medium tight shot of the front end of the machine. And this is a seam ripper, which I'm going to show you and use it as a little tool in a moment to put the needle back in the machine. But what I was trying to awkwardly show you in the last shot was where this hook position or tab was in the face of the hook. And there it is right there. Okay, looking at it from the top, these are the 2 screw holes which will hold the feed dog. And these, of course, are the screw holes for the throat plate. This is an oil hole, by the way, that drops oil down onto the shaft. And these 2 holes right here, these little screw holes, are for guides and accessories. Now, here are needles for this machine that came from bought them on eBay, but these are the Oregon brand needles, DAX1, 88X1, and the eye size is 18. That's the opening in the eye for the thread, which is the proper hole size for upholstery thread, 69 thread. Okay. If you were using thinner thread, you'd be using 14. As the number goes up, the hole size goes up. So this is Coats & Clark's Extra Strong Upholstery Thread, which is equivalent to 69 thread. If you want to buy large cones, that's what you get. 69 thread. Comes in lots of colors, and this is kind of a cream color. They don't put their names on here, I don't believe. They just do it by numbers, like color 8010. So I wound a bobbin on another machine, which I'll show you a bit later. I don't want to change this shot, which is the equivalent of this machine in a longer arm. Has exactly the same hook on it, uses the same bobbins, of course, bobbin cases, and it is a 96 class machine. This is a 95 class machine. So let's put a needle from this packet into this machine. So let's get one out right now. Brand new one. Alright, and I have all the other parts over here on the left where you can't see them, and I'll be pulling them to go. Now, these shanks are round. Okay. It's a round shank, and the needle has a scarf in it, which you can see as the reflections change. And inside that, there's a flat area inside that scarf, and then the hole is right below it, and then the point of the needle. I don't know, I'm going to lose focus or lose the light. You can see it. The reflection down below is where the scarf is. There it is, and then there's the hole right up against. That hole, let me see this piece of leather here, let's see what that shows you. Yeah, there's the hole, and then there's the scarf on the side, and I think you can see it as small as it is. Alright, there it is. See that flat area? That's dark. That's the scarf. Alright, so get your needle bar up as high as it'll go. Okay, which is right there. Okay, here's the needle bar screw right here. And okay, there's the needle bar up as high as it can go. The light changes as my hand gets in the way or I move things around. And this is tightened down, so let's back it out. I tightened it out so it won't fly out. Alright, and we just set this up in here until the screw will let it come in. I'm going to tighten it down for the moment. Now, this scarf has to face the arm this way. So, let's look at it. Okay, and it happens to be in there completely opposite right now. So I'm going to loosen the nut, or the screw again, I'm sorry. Turn it around, okay. And I'm going to leave the screwdriver in there. And I have the scarf generally facing toward the arm. Now this is the little trick I was going to show you. Okay, things slipped out. Get your the tip of your seam ripper right down into that hole, right into the thread hole, and as I loosen this, turn that needle, okay, and point the scarf right at the arm and tighten the screw, rather than me using your fingers on the needle. Now let's take a look at it. And you can feel it too, if I have it in the right direction. And there it is, right there. See? Okay, real quick, no fuss, no muss, no messing around. Let's double check it. Put the tip of your seam ripper into the thread hole on the needle, okay? Point it toward the arm, and also raise it up. Okay. Get your screwdriver into the slot on the screw. This is all small stuff. Okay. Oops, I dropped it. Okay, I had it and I lost it. So let's go back and get it. There's the needle. I get to show it to you one more time. Okay. Okay, there's this scarf, or that's the slide side. There's the scarf side is on my finger. Get her back up in here again. Okay. Tighten it down. This time I use my fingers. Look for it again. I happened to go back in there correctly the first time. But get that tip in there. And let's make sure we don't lose it a second time. Okay, tighten up the screw best we can. Okay, you got to see it twice. Now the scarf is pointing toward the arm this way, and if you feel around to the opposite side of the needle, you'll feel a groove. And get your fingernail into it too. Okay, so the needle's back in the machine, and that's the first step in retiming it. Okay. Okay. Now, as it comes down, you're going to see that it's going to hit the hook. So be careful, don't do that. Okay. We are now going to be moving this hook around. Okay. We're going to move this hook around on the shaft, and since there's only one screw in there right now, okay, bring it up, and you can see it. It is right there. This is one of 3 that are on the collar. So you can move it by running your finger back and forth on here. Oh, this is tight. I've got to loosen this up. So let's loosen up this screw with a slightly larger screwdriver. Okay, just like that. We have got to get it out of the flat spot that's on there. I'm going to hold it right there. Now it's loose and sliding. Okay. Let me make sure that I've got this hook loose so I can roll it. I believe I do. Yes, I do. Okay. Here we go. Now that I've got this screw backed out and the hook can roll around or move on the shaft without being attached to it, we are looking for the needle coming down to its lowest point. Okay, now it's missing the hook, to its lowest point, up and down, just like that. I'm rocking it, you can see it going up and down. Okay. When the needle starts to come back up, right there, right there. I don't know if I can zoom closer. Let me see if I can without losing focus. There we go, we can. Alright. That's it. That's the limit of the focus in the position I'm in. Okay. This is the sewing hook. Right there. That's it. Right there. Okay. There's the hook positioner. I'm going to take this back up again without, see, the hook is not moving right now. It wants to a little bit, but it can't much. Now I'm going to bring this down as far as it can go, and when it wants to come back up again, by the way, I'm turning the hand wheel toward me, okay? Okay. And that hook has to pass through the scarf right above the needle point without hitting the needle. All it's going to be doing is picking up the thread. Alright, now the needle is out. Let's pull it. Alright, I'll take it through its cycle again. Down as far as it can go. And as it starts to turn around and come back up again, that's when we want this to come through here. Alright, now, there it is, right there. You can see that the hook is right inside the needle as it wants to come back up in again. So what I'm going to do, and since this screw is now available, I happen to pick the right screw out of the 3 to put on here, because, oops, there it is. It moved on me. Move it back again. Hold it with your finger. Okay. And just retard it slightly behind the needle. There it is. Now, I have tightened this one screw, and I want you to draw this slowly through. See how the hook shape, the top of the hook, moving away, and the needle is coming back out again. And the test will be that when it comes back down again, it's going to miss the hook. Go into the hook to pick up thread, and as it starts to move out again, it doesn't hit the hook. Let's do it again one more time in slow motion. See how it goes down in there? That's when it picks up the thread, comes back up, makes the stitch, leaves the hook, and goes back up again. That's how you retime the sewing machine hook. Going into pause so I can answer the phone. Okay, we are back. Alright, so again, here we go. Needle down, hook goes through, comes back down, goes inside the hook, picks up the thread, and goes back up again. All rotary hooks are like this. The hook will turn twice for the one time that it passes through the needle and picks up the thread. And you'll notice you don't hear anything. And right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to double check the tightness on this screw right here, making sure that it does not move. Let's do it from this back side. like this, or slip out. Okay. Yeah, see, I got another little bit of a turn on it. It's got to be real tight. Otherwise, by vibration and movement, it will get loose. So now, again, we're testing it. Okay. Alright, seems to be okay, but the test is in the sewing. So what I'm going to do right now, before I put on the last two collar screws, okay, and if for some reason it's not quite perfect, I'm going to have to move it again. So let's run this with the motor just to see how it works without putting back on all those parts. Alright. Turning the motor on. Okay. Here we go. At very worst, we can break a needle. But let's test it and make sure that it's running okay. There she goes. Not clanking, banging, the needle didn't break. Looks like it's sewing okay. It will sew okay. And all those wonderful sounds you're hearing right now, just that smoothness and the hook going around like that, looks like it's going to sew. So I may have gotten this right the first time. Okay, so let's turn off the motor. Okay, and we're going to reassemble this machine. Okay, so let's get this needle up as high as it can go to keep it out of the way. First thing we have to do is put on the feed dog. Right. So, feed dog screws are very small. I have them in a plastic bag. They're inside a plastic bag right now, so I have to get them out. And here comes the feed dog. There it is right there. It's widened out just a bit. Okay, there's feed dog right there. Okay. So let's get these screws out where we need them to be. There's one, and then there's the other. Alright. Alrighty then. Put your screws in the attachment holes and make sure you have something under you so if you drop them you don't lose them. Okay, there are the screws in there. Okay, and right now I'm going to take out this foot attachment screw, this one right here, to get it out of my way. Alright, so coming in from the back and positioning like this, using technical screwdrivers like this one. So get the rear one right over its attachment hole and get it started. These can be tricky, but everything is clean and oiled. Everything is out of the way. Okay, let's get this one started here. And I'm doing this left-handed when I'm right-handed for the purposes of showing it to you. I do believe, oops, that's from being awkward. The screws are started, so I'm going to go back to being right-handed again. Okay, damn it, there we go. Getting them down. Get this one in there. Don't work awkward, whatever you do. Alright, here we go. We got them driving down in there. Didn't drop anything. There's an oil pan down under the machine too. If they did drop them, they just land in the oil pan. Alright, now feed dog's back in there again. Okay. And this is a standard feed dog. So let's tighten these up. Making sure. If you want to use a long screwdriver with a small, long, thin blade on it, then you can take the faceplate off and you'll get a more direct angle into the heads of the screws. Or if you just want to take this off, your hand will go farther in here and you won't be at an angle. But those are the trickiest screws of all. Now, here comes needle plate. This is a Singer part 52032, and it's got some proof marks on it too. So this is one of the early ones. Fits right on top of the feed dog. Here come its slightly larger screws right here, like this. Okay. This one and this one. Like that. We can move up to a bigger screwdriver. Sorry about my hand being in the way, but there is no other way to do it. Okay. And this one back here, I'm going to turn this one in farther with my fingers and finish it off with the screwdriver. Okay. Alright. Now, let's test it one more time. I'm going to turn the motor back on again. Okay. On the foot pedal. Everything is lined up correctly. There she goes. Now she's making an additional sound, but that's a beautiful sound right there. That little clicking sound that Singer sewing machines make. Okay, I'm turning the motor off again. Alright. Here comes, alright, this is a Singer original part. A lot of wear on it. You can see from where the feed dog has been moving on the bottom of this. Okay, 3-line feed dog for garment sewing. This one still has her spring in her, so when she rides over material, she comes back down and holds position. Okay, these are the kind you want to have with the spring in her. Okay, Singer part 24983. 24983. So here comes back the attachment screw up onto the foot connecting bar. Get that needle right up underneath there, like that, and get this screw right in where she is supposed to go. There it is, right there. Come on, baby. There she goes. Okay. Now, this one does not have a screw slot in it, so it's going to be finger tight, which is why it has double knurling on it. No slot. A lot of them have a screw slot on there. Alright. Now, I know that it's going to fit perfectly, or run perfectly, so I'm not going to test it again. And the last thing we want to do is put on this throat plate slide, which is what really allows you to get down into the underside of the machine. These can be a bear, okay? So this is also an original Singer part, 12431. See all that good quality steel. Let me back out of this a little bit more so you can see me putting this back in. There we go. And turn it over like this. Okay, now the shot's settled up. Alright, you can't put it in straight. It's got to go in on an angle. So tip it up under, catch one of them, get it going to the back, get this one down underneath, okay, and hopefully she will, let's try it from the other angle. She's being a bear. Actually, I'm forgetting exactly how to do this perfectly the first time. So let's experiment again. There we go. I don't know if you noticed that or not. But when she comes in from here like this, okay, catch those two ears underneath these grooves and she'll pop down. You hear that sound? Right now it's not in. See that? And boom, there she goes. Now when she's on the table, if you have a complete table, this table was for a bigger machine. Now this will slide away and it will not come out because of how the case is designed underneath. So this is your piece sliding back inside. Now the machine is completely reassembled except for the two collar screws on the hook. And now that we have runner enough and that needle is in there, I'm inclined to trust the timing, and I'm going to show you how to put these two collar screws back in again. So I'm taking the machine out of the shot, so I'm going to go into pause and be right back. Alright, we're back. Alright, this is a really good angle. Just happened to catch this one good with the lighting and everything. Now you can see the business end of this sewing machine really very well. And let's use this technical screwdriver to show you a couple of things that I was trying to highlight before that were hard to see. Here is that hook positioner again with its tab right up in where it's supposed to be, right there. And here are the two feed dog screws now coming down through the carrier. Now that we have this angle, I can show you the hook as it turns. Okay. And the needle is going to come right down through there. Watch it come. As it comes down, there it is. Okay. You see it right there? There's the needle tip right there. Let me get the screwdriver right where it is. See it right there? There's that needle tip coming down to pick up thread, and as it goes back out again, it's making the stitch. Okay. Here comes the hook point right there. That is the hook point. That's going to go through the needle and pick up the thread. See, so watch it come through. See it there? Then it's going back out again, and the hook point will come around and grab the thread as it goes back out. Okay, so now we have an open screw hole, one of two, and let's go get these guys. Now these are tricky to put in, which is why they're out. But I'm relatively sure that the timing is okay. Alright, so I'm going to take a chance and not wait to sew with it before I put these in. I'm just going to put them in. Now I may drop them one or two times before I catch it just right. But That's just the way the cookie crumbles. These don't go in all that easy. There's a screwdriver that'll hold a screw for you, which I don't have, and I just dropped it. And I don't know where it went. Unless it... I don't feel it. Hang on, we're going into pause until I find that screw. Alright, we're back. Right after I dropped that screw and said a bad word, I remembered that the best way to do this is from the top, and I've already put that screw in. So now you can see that there are two of them. That was the first one, there's the second one. And I'm going to show you this trick on how to do this from the top. Take off the needle plate and position this more or less right up on top at the 12 o'clock position. Take that screw, let's bring it into the shot, and use a blade screwdriver that has a slightly less thick blade than the slot in the screw. Put in a small piece of paper towel and they'll get connected. Okay. Now here comes the tricky part. Hopefully I won't drop this one and embarrass myself again. Alright, come down in here. It's going to hold the screw. Get it right up on top. Okay, work it into the hole. That. It's seated. Okay. If you have to, move this toward you a little bit. See, the screwdriver becomes more directly into, and screw it down in there. Okay, and it is snugging up. Okay, it worked the first time. So there's your little trick. So now, okay, I'm going to take this piece of paper towel out of there, and now we're going to put in a better sized screwdriver. Okay, and make sure these are nice and snug. Alright, this one's a little rough. This is a sewing machine type screwdriver, so it's going to fit in there and tighten up real good. If these are not real tight, after a period of time they will loosen up and you will hear them fly out and hit something, or worse, you won't hear them come out and you will have lost them. So make sure that they're nice and tight on there. Okay. And this one, let's check this one too for positioning. Alright. So let's take needle back up and out. Get that needle plate back up on top of the feed dog. Okay. Okay. These needle plate screws are going back in again. And now, when this comes down, when these screws get in place, and I have them snugged up, these are, see, we have more narrow handles. We can get closer to the machine and get these screws down where they need to be. This one's in and tight. This one can go some more with fingers. And then we have it. Alright. So, while we're here, let's talk about bobbins and thread. Now, I wound this bobbin, this one right here, and let me widen out so you can see things a little better. Okay, there we go. This bobbin, okay, I just loaded up with some of that cream colored, or it's almost white thread. And there's the 12 o'clock position of the thread coming off the bobbin between my fingers, just like that. Here is a bobbin case, and this is not an original Singer bobbin case. This is an aftermarket case. The ones I have are just plain worn out. Okay, so there is the hook spring on this bobbin case, right there. And there are 2 screws in here. I'm going to put this down for a minute. 2 screws up in here. This one, get the light correct. This is the attachment screw right here. That is what holds the spring onto the case, the one in the back. This one that's sitting in a circle and is a little bit larger is the tension screw. It pushes this spring down onto the case where the thread goes through, and that is your lower bobbin tension. Now, I'm not doing any adjustments on this, but if you do, you need a screwdriver like this one with a very small blade to get in there. Alright, here is how your bobbin should go into your case. Alright? Now I want to watch this very carefully. See this? There's the case right in my fingers. Okay? Let's put this in here and see if I did it right. See how it's pointing away from the spring? Come back up here, push it through that slot, bring it up around and under the spring, and get it up into that spot right there. And when you pull on this, okay, watch what happens. As I pull on the thread, see it in there? As I pull on the thread, the bobbin is going off in the opposite direction. And this just came out of the spring. Okay, we're back in there again. We're in the notch. Okay, so when I pull on this thread, see how that's going in the opposite direction? That's part of your bobbin tension. If you put this in backwards, it's going to go in the same direction as the thread, and that is bad, wrong. Okay, so this is how it's supposed to look when you're pulling on the thread. Okay, so let me reach over here and get a zip. My head probably went into the shot. Went and got a scissor. So we have a lot of thread here now that I just pulled out. So I'm going to cut off all but about 6 to 8 inches of it. Okay, and I am going to reset this shot so I can show you how to put a bobbin in a bobbin case in case you don't already know. So hang on one more time. Okay, here is our bobbin case with thread in it, pulling off in the correct direction, just like that. There's the bobbin case again, didn't have it in the shot. There's the bobbin case and the bobbin. There's the bobbin case. Alright. And the bobbin inside with thread, pulling it out, going in the correct direction. Okay, so let the thread go. And notice this right here. This is the spring. Okay. This is the opening right here where the needle comes down and grabs thread. So this tab, which is what takes it out of the shot again, this tab, which takes it in and out, let's loosen up a little bit. Okay, this tab right there is what you grabs onto the center post in the middle of the hook, and you're going to hear it click when I put it back in. So there it goes. That opening, let me get it back out again for you for just a minute, because I want to make sure you see something and you don't do it wrong. See this opening right here where the thread is exposed? Okay, that faces up. So now let's get it onto the post in the middle of the hook. Okay, and you're going to hear it click when it gets to the right spot. Click. There it is. Get my fingernail in there, undo it one more time, and listen. That's it. One more time. Loose. Click. And now the thread is just hanging loose, and that's what you want. Okay, just to have it hanging loose and free and not hung up on anything. Now, let's thread the machine and see if she's picking up thread on the needle. This stuff, oh, I've lost this shot. So let's back out without going into pause and reset this shot. Okay. And show you how to thread this machine. Bring the light over here, point it up where it needs to be, and it is right in the middle of the shot. So let's go into quick pause, and then I'm going to reset the shot. Okay, here is the thread that is wound onto that bobbin inside the case. Same stuff. Coats extra strong upholstery thread. So let's get it up onto the spindle up here, and we are going to thread this machine. Now I'm moving things again because I want you to see something which is not in the shot right now, so I have to readjust it while I'm rolling. Okay, and then I'll come back down again. This piece right here, you should have one. It can either be pointing down or level like this one is. It's called an unwinder. It's got 3 holes in it. Start from the top. Okay. Go around, up, down, okay, and the last one will be coming downward, okay, like that. Okay. And now we can tighten back up a little bit while I hold this, okay, and take this right between your 2 thread tension discs, around and up and into take-up spring. Okay, that moves like that. Let me see if I can get a little closer just to this one point right here. There you go. There it is. There's the thread unwinder. Right there. Coming down. Okay. These are so easy to thread. Okay, just like that. Right up between these 2 discs. Okay. Okay, let's do it one more time. From the thread unwinder, between the 2 tension discs, up and around, okay, back over, take up spring, okay, okay, inside this piece right here, like I just showed you, see, there it is again, right there, comes back around like that, then you bring it up into here. Really hard to see because it's so black. Okay. But there's a piece right here. Okay, that is black enough. It's just blending right into the body of the machine. But there it is. Get it up around here. And the take-up piece has to be up on top. Okay. So let's widen out. Okay. Okay, and then there's the take-up lever right there. See it going up and down? Okay. So get your thread right through there. Okay. That. Get yourself some more thread. You're going to need it. This is really tight. Okay. Okay. Now I can pull it down. Let's widen out a little more. Okay, there's one right here, which on this machine, some of them are forward and some of them are back. This one's forward. Okay, snap it right in there like that from the front. Okay, this one, you go into the back of it and then over and down. And now this thread is coming right straight through there. Let's get a nice tight shot of these 2 guys. You have got to have a front plate to be able to properly throw this machine. These plates right here are very valuable to people who own black singers, and they wind up getting sold off of machines. See, so there's this one. Let me show, since I have a good shot on this, let me show you this again. Right from the back, around there, and in. Like that. Now let's come down to the needle. Okay, and we're getting to the point where we're going to know whether we timed it correctly or not. So, we are threading this from, there's no more guides here. This, by the way, if you're seeing it, here it is a thread cutter. In other words, you could take this and thread cut, or you could use, I guess you could use this one as a guide. If it doesn't cut the thread, you could use it as a guide. So I'm going to use it as a guide just for the fun of it. I haven't before, but why not now? Now, here we go. We're going to thread this right through the bottom hole, and this is fairly stiff thread and doesn't shred. So there it is. Machine is now threaded, coming through. Just like that. It's working good as a thread guide. I've sewed with this without using this. So then you put this through here, pull it to the back. Okay. Now either up, it has to be up. Make sure that your foot is up, okay, by running the lever in the back. And we are going to roll the machine over now. And if she picks up that bobbin thread the first time, I will be very, very happy. So here we go. Needle is going down into the hook. And I think I feel it. There it is. And if you can see it, she just picked up the thread, which means it is timed correctly. And I'm going to catch this loop and pull out the bobbin thread. Now we have 2 threads that are out in the machine. And I'm going to take a pause and go get a piece of black suede, which I did not think about until just this moment. So hang on while I put her back into pause. Okay, this is black suede. Okay. Big piece of it. Let's widen out for a moment so I can show it to you better. Alright, there it is. This is black suede, or dark brown. Hard to tell. Well, anyway, it's suede and it's thick. What these machines have is punching power, unlike home machines. And let us see if we are going to be able to get a good stitch without having to do a lot of adjustments. So hold your threads out when you get started, just like that. This is called setting your needle. Make sure that your foot is down. Set your needle into your work. Okay. Turn on your motor. Okay, like that. Okay, and start out slow. Okay, just to engage it. And of course, I don't have the belt pulley back on the machine, so give me a half a second while I do that. There we go. Alright, belt's back on the machine. Okay. Hold on to your threads. Okay. Just like this. Go back here like this. Alright. And let's see if we are sewing. The dog's moving the material. There she goes. And let's see what we got. Okay, I got one skip stitch, but let's see what may or may not have caused that. skip stitch. I like brown. Let's cut off our excess and see what's going on. I'm going to tighten the tension down a little bit on the upper tension screw and keep going again. Okay. She is sewing pretty good. Here she goes. That skipped stitch might mean that something is flopping in here, but we won't know that until we try something else. Yeah. Alright. She's skipping again. So that means that the hook probably needs to get checked, okay? And make sure that it's not coming in too quick or too low, meaning that it could be a thread issue also. I think this is a thread issue. Okay. Yeah, she's skipping stitches. So I'm going to try something. It could also be this material. Because when it skips like this, that means that it's catching on something. So let's take a pause and see if she'll sew in a different type of material without skipping stitches, and then we'll know it's the suede. So hang on. We are in record, and I want it to be in pause. Alright, now we're back in record, and I fiddled with this, and I believe I have it slightly different than it was before. I have it partially threaded up above here. Now, when I roll this by hand, the needle is going in and out, not hitting the hook anymore. So I've retarded it a little bit. The clicking that you're hearing, that clicking sound, is the front face of the hook, which doesn't turn, moving back and forth up against the positioner. And that is what is making the clicking sound. So when I do it by hand, you don't hear the scraping anymore, which was occurring right there. That scraping was occurring right there. But now the needle is clearing out of here before this can come around and hit it. And then that clicking sound you hear is when I run it up to speed, and you get the needle, the position, the face of the hook, which is not turning, moving back and forth and clicking on the positioner. So now I'm going to put the machine back together again and see if that skip went away, and then we will have our problem solved. So back into pause. Alright, as you can see, I have solved the skipping problem. And the way that I did that was I loosened up all 3 screws on the hook, and of course I took off the needle plate cover, this one, and the feed dog, and I played around with moving the hook so that the needle goes down and the hook comes through the scarf and doesn't touch it. Tested it, tightened up all the screws, put the machine back together again. I have a new piece of suede here, just to show you that I'm not fooling you. Okay, we're going to go on another stitch length. Now I'm going to work slow with this, and another point to make is that clutch motors are hard to control when they're going fast when you're sewing, so you have to be real easy on them to make them sew slow like this. And of course they will sew faster. All you gotta do is give a little pressure. If you get yourself a servo motor, which you'll find that word in the description on eBay, here we go, that's the line I just sewed. This is very dense suede. I don't know if you can see the edge of it. There it is right there. This is about a 1/16 of an inch thick, maybe a slightly, maybe a millimeter thicker than that. And this is 69 white upholstery thread from Coats & Clark. Now, these machines are known for their punching power. So what I'm going to do right now, and I haven't done this yet to test it before I showed it to you, is we're going to double up. Okay. So let's see what she does when I double it up and we get the needle going. Okay, and she's still sewing. Let me turn this around so you can see it. On pressure foot machines, when you sew thicker, your thread stitching is the word I'm looking for. The stitching length is going to tighten up. So she is set at its lowest point on the stitch indicator, and I just sewed that. And you would not want, I don't think, to sew 3 thicknesses of suede, but you could try it. Okay, there is 2 going a little slower, back to 1 and back to 2, and I'm going to cut this off and show it to you. Okay, there we are. Okay. These machines will sew suede all day long, and there it is right there. Okay, bottom stitch, top stitch, perfectly laid out. So there you have it. You're going to have to play with upper tension. Let me widen out here a little bit and swing the camera up. Okay, this is, let's get the light out of the way. Alright, this is upper tension. There's all these parts are replaceable. There is a screw right back in here, and you can get an entire tension assembly with a new take-up spring on eBay for either a 95 or a 96 class machine. You'll just take this one out, put another one in without having to do any adjustments. If you want to play with it because you want to look in there and check all the parts out, be my guest. That's how I taught myself to reset them. This one is an original. I took her out, cleaned everything up, put her back together again, stuck her back in the machine. There's still a little bit of rust on this take-up spring right here. Okay, so there's the take-up lever in the down position. When you go to take out your material that you just sewed with, let's widen up some more. There we go. You want to be able to do this. You want to be able to rock that take-up lever up and down and pull on your goods until you're done. And another thing I'm going to suggest you do is not use this thread cutter as a guide. When I was taking out the thread before, I noticed that it was shredding the thread. So here you go. Take this with your fingers like this, loop this around through the cutter, okay, and you can, this stuff is tough. It doesn't want to cut. If you had cotton mercerized thread in here, she might cut it. But right there, get yourself little scissors like these, and there you go. Nice close-up look. Okay, on good sewing. Okay. This is, again, real thick cotton suede. Okay. With white 69 grade, or as Coats & Clark calls it, upholstery thread. Alright, so let's grab the pauser, and thanks for watching. If you have any questions, send me an email, give me a call if you want to, and I'll help you get your machine retimed if you're hung up on something. And I hope the shots I set up for you showed you all the things you need to know. Now, that's it for now, and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.